Now, on matters concerning health, Uganda and development partners pledged to eradicate sickle cells in the country. This was during the annual Sickle Cells Conference held at Hotel Africana, which was spearheaded by the Prime Minister, Dr. Uganda, and businessmen like Abraham Chivilige was as well present. The move comes at a time when the country continues to register an unprecedented number of new cases of sickle cells.
In Uganda, approximately 25,000 children are born with sickle cells every year. Bundibujo, Bulisa and Namaingo are some of the most hit districts.
Sickle cell is not really to scare, to say this is a nightmare for everybody. But what we want you is to sensitize the people and make the magic bullet is to prevent. It is very preventable.
In a way of curbing down the rising rates of the sickle cells anemia, early screening for newborn babies and children below 10 years is an alternative.
So the screening which is happening in the ministry, which I've told you about, of all of the newborns and under 2 is free. Make this message out there.
Sickle cell victims also disclosed challenges they face while living with the disease.
You have to go for out of the health care where you have to pay. And this definitely means you have to afford to have to buy expensive medication, that being said. And remember, if you are living with sickle cell, you're in the hospital. It's a routine. You go to the hospital, it's a routine. Today you're working, tomorrow in hospital. Today you're working, tomorrow in hospital. So it becomes a routine for you to be hospitalized.
The only remedy for sickle cells disease in the world remains bone marrow's transfer.
Across the borders, as the world commemorated the World Refugee Day on Saturday, the world's youngest nation nearing its 4th year of existence, South Sudan is facing a disastrous reality. Extreme levels of violence in and around Lee over the last month have forced an estimated 100,000 people to flee their homes and seek safety in low-lying swamps far from civilization. Let's have the report.
Apart from the 100,000 people who flee their homes to seek for safety in low-lying swamps far from civilization, there are other 2 million people who are already displaced during the past 18 months since the crisis began. For many, this is the second or third time they have fled the violence.
Now we are living in the river and in the bush. They take all our car. They burn up all the food for the civilians, and they take all the ladies, and they even kill all the young kids, plus the girls.
A community organizer has also witnessed and fled such atrocities.
I'm talking through what I have seen. I have seen them with my own eyes. Today, even you have around 3 to 4 people that were injured were brought from the village that I'm talking of. It's called Lual and Tai.
Beyond the trauma of the violence, the fighting is also blocking people from farming their land, which will compound desperate food shortages in the months ahead.
Now we're going into rainy season, which also means that if they haven't had the chance to plant their seeds until now, they do not have any food stocks for the coming months. So we're going towards a very, very difficult period for the people here in South Sudan, coupled with an economic instability, which is certainly not going to help the country and the people.
The life for the people who are now in the bush is very difficult. They have nothing to eat at all. So up to the end of this month, people will die from starvation if there's no any assistance.
To alleviate this crisis, ICRC has been flying in food rations, protective tarps and seeds to help 6,000 people. The ICRC is also medically evacuating dozens of civilians and fighters wounded in the fighting and providing medical and surgical care. To sustain and increase the life-saving work, the ICRC is appealing for an additional $25 million, the already agreed budget of 149 million Swiss francs. The extra funds would enable ICRC to distribute food to up to 340,000 people and increase seed distributions and cattle vaccination. This makes South Sudan the second largest ICRC operation worldwide after Syria.
Charleston church shooting suspect Dalen Roof was ordered to remain in custody on 9 murder charges on Friday at an emotional bond hearing during which relatives of the victims expressed grief.
Appearing via video link and flanked by 2 armed guards, this was 21-year-old Dylan Roof's first appearance in court. He's suspected of killing 9 members of the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston in what is now being investigated as a hate crime.
We have victims, 9 of them.
But even as the relatives of those who were killed addressed him directly, Dylan Roof showed no emotion.
I forgive you and have mercy on your soul. You hurt me. You hurt a lot of people. But God forgive you. And I forgive you.
Other family members offered similar deeply emotional statements before Dylan Roof was led away. But if that was the intent, it hasn't worked. Mother Emmanuel, as it's known here, remains the site of a city determined to heal together.
This hateful person came to this community with some crazy idea he would be able to divide, and all he did was make us more united and love each other even more.
The case against Dylan Roof is now complex. He faces a raft of charges, including the murders of 9 innocent people, and for that he could face the death penalty.
We absolutely will want him to have the death penalty. This is the worst hate that I've seen and that the country has seen in a long time. We will fight this, and we will fight this as hard as we can.
Charleston remains a city in shock, but one determined not to let the alleged actions of one man come between them.
In a related development, racism remains blight on society. U.S. President Barack Obama says in the wake of the killing of 9 African Americans in South Carolina church, police are treating the killings at the church in Charleston on Wednesday night as a hate crime. Earlier on, Dalen Roof, 21, appeared in court to face 9 murder charges.
For the second time in 2 days, U.S. President Barack Obama made an impassioned plea for the country to change course when it comes to gun control legislation. Speaking before a conference of mayors, the president said 11,000 Americans were killed in 2013 due to gun violence. He said if Congress had passed expanding background checks after the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, and where 20 first-grade students were killed in their classroom, that some of those people could have been saved. Not all, but some, and he is urging the American public to get involved.
We have to have a conversation about it and fix this. And ultimately, Congress acts when the public insists on action. And we've seen how public opinion can change. We've seen it change on gay marriage. We've seen it beginning to change on climate change. We've got to shift how we think about this issue.
The president is focusing on public opinion because if you look at polls, the country is pretty much evenly split for those who favor gun rights and those who favor more gun control legislation.
In sports, newly appointed KCC-FC managers Mike Mutebi and Sam Simba accepted to merge their different training philosophies as they took forward a winning team. The duo was officially unveiled on Thursday as replacements for George Bestin Simbe, who is currently plying his trade in Azam Sports Club in Tanzania, and Abdul Mubiru, respectively. We have the details.
A lighter moment of happiness prevailed as KCCA Executive Director Jennifer Msisi unveiled former KCC players Mike Mtebe and Sam Simba as new managers for the 2013-2014 league champions. She intimated that the 2 elite coaches are headed to taking them to higher levels in football, both locally and at the international scene. She added that with the new coaches, they intend to rejuvenate all activities of the club, including scouting for new talent, tapping talent from the grassroots, and many other technical advancements of the team.
You'll have people with technical capacity to run the finances, the administration, the public relations, the media relations. That is why we have that team, so that the coaches on tactics and skills development and all those can focus on the game and the development of talent and skill and winning a lot of trophies away from the administration. The players didn't eat, the uniforms are worn out.
OCC emphasized that for purposes of continuity and future planning for the club, they will not sign any contracts with players and managers less than 3 years. After signing their contracts, both coaches pledged their allegiance before the ED, promised to contribute to the success of the club.
Now, there is an executive director, so you can see everything is new. Everything is new. So, surely, you've heard about the budget, maybe back then. We are working on a very shoestring budget, and you know the history. You know, I don't need to talk about all this history, but the whole idea is that this is a new dispensation, this is a new project.
Mutebi, known for youth soccer development, promised to amicably work with his assistant Sam Simbwa. A budget of 1.8 billion Uganda shillings has been allotted to the club for its talent development. Frank Serugo, WSTV, Kampala.
That is all we had for you in this week's edition of Week in Focus. I'm Nabasa Innocent. Enjoy the rest of the day.